Hello guys and welcome. In today's video, today we're gonna build a full stack project which will be a website about coffees. So in today's video we're gonna do the back end of the website. So first of all, I'm gonna open IntelliJ IDEA and simultaneously I'm gonna go to startspring.io, which will help us generate our project. So we're gonna call it coffeeShop. Now in the dependencies we're gonna add the web dependency, GPA, and Lombok. What else? We're gonna use Postgres as our database. We're gonna click generate, and thus will generate us a project. We're gonna go to the folder and we extract it. I'm gonna take it from here and gonna go to our coffee project. We're gonna paste it here. Now we're gonna open it with IntelliJ IDEA. So we're going back to IntelliJ IDEA, and I'm gonna go to open and gonna click to this. Well. Okay, now that will load the project for us. Let's wait IntelliJ IDEA until it prepare the workspace, and it seems like we opened the wrong project. So I'm gonna click to open, and should give us, I don't know what's problem here. I'm gonna go back to the project path. I'm gonna copy it here again. Okay, it gives us a wrong project. I don't know why. So I'm gonna go to the project manually. So let me go to okay, at last it gives us our project. So we'll wait it. So this is our project, and it seems like IntelliJ IDEA didn't know that it's a Maven project. So I'm gonna click import here, then I'm gonna go to Maven and click to download sources. This should trigger IntelliJ IDEA to download the dependencies which we need for our project. So let's wait. Okay, now it seems like IntelliJ IDEA is working on the dependencies. Now it seems like IntelliJ IDEA finishes its loading and indexing, so we can start developing our project. So first of all, I'm going to create the packages which we'll need for the structure of our project, which is an MVC project. So first of all, I'm gonna pick new and create a package. I'm gonna call it repo, which will hold our repository. Now I'm gonna create another package. I'm gonna call it services, and another project package, and I'm gonna call it controller. Alright, now I'm gonna add another package for our models, not here. Okay, now we are ready to start developing our project. Our project is a coffee shop, so it's relevant, or it's logically logic to create a model for the coffee, which will be an entity which will be persistent in the database. So I'm gonna call the entity annotation from JavaX persistent library, plus I'm gonna use Lombok for the constructor. By the way, GPA needs a default constructor to work, so we need to know args constructor, or it won't work. So we need an ID, which will be okay, an ID which will be a private long ID, and the generated value will be an identity. So strategy will be okay. Now we need the name of the cafe also, so we keep it simple here. We won't add any price. We can add price here too, so we can say double for the price. We should ready to go with our repository. So an interface, we'll call it coffee repo, and it should extend GPA repository, which will take a coffee, and the type of the primary key, which is long, and we can annotate it with repo. And for the service, I'm going to create a new class called cafe service, which will be annotated with the service, and which will take as the constructor to take a repository. We're gonna inject the repository here, so we can inject it, as you know, in 3 different ways, either with the constructor or the setter or the auto-write annotation. And the best, as you should know, which is best practice, is to use the constructor here, which we'll be using. Now let's go to the controller and create an endpoint for our coffees. Now we need to annotate it with the REST controller, and we need to inject our service, which we will be using. So coffee service, and here we need to inject it as we did with the repository. So now first endpoint will be get mapping for all the coffees. In which will return the method should keep the same name here. We don't have the method here logically, so we're going to create it in our service. Now we are ready to go. We only need our resources to connect us to the database. So here I passed the properties which will connect us to the database. We have our CoffeeDB as a database, username Postgres, and root as a password. Here we have the properties of the Postgres and the GPA, and the port here is 8052. So we are ready to go. We'll see what's going on here. We are missing with that we are ready to go. Let's try it. One thing I should add here is to implement the command line runner, which will help us initialize our database. So let's create a list of coffee. So I'm gonna say list of coffees, and let's let's initialize it here. So let's say cappuccino. I don't know if the grammar is right. I don't know if it's like that. Cappuccino plus I have a problem here. Index element. I think I'm missing something, so let's add another one. Here we have to add a coffee, not okay. And so we should add a new coffee. So okay, I don't know problem here. Okay, we have price, so we should add the price too. So it's gonna be $2. Here it's gonna be $1. Okay, should take that out. So should be double. So now we are ready to go. Here we can add this data to the repository, which we don't have here, which will be injected here. So let's create the repo. It will be coffee repo, and we need to inject it in the constructor. Now we need to call the save all method and call our list here. Now we are ready to go. Let's build our project one thing I need to add is the something will work because I didn't create the database in Postgres, and that will cause a problem when our application called the database. That's it. The database doesn't exist in our Postgres, so let me add it here. Let's go to pgadmin and create a new database. Let's call it the same name which we called here, so I should copy this and paste it here, and let's go. Now we have our database. Let's run the project again, and by now everything should work fine. So let's make sure it works. Now this is our port, and it seems like everything is okay. Now let's back to our database and go to schema and go to the tables, and let's see all the rows. Now we have cappuccino, and we should have 2 coffees, but we have 1. Let's see what's wrong here. And the problem is obvious because we have the same ID. Let's change the ID here, and that will fix our problem. And now let's go to the browser and make sure the port is working as expected. So let's go to our browser and go to coffees, and we have our 2 coffees here. So we have our objects here, but we have no data. So there is problem. I guess I know what's the problem, which is the getters here. Now we should add getters to the coffee object, which I guess will help us get the data from the endpoint. So let's return here, and guys, if you're wondering about the now we have our data, and if you're wondering what's this, it's an extension I'm using called, I guess, JSON handler. JSON handler. This is the extension that will help us get our JSON object in this format. So with this video, it reaches its end. So we have done our endpoint, and in the next video I'm gonna keep this project, and we're gonna talk about the front end of it. So stay tuned for the next video.